Thank you, Kevin. It's great to be here with this panel of speakers and with Ralph Nader and with Andy Shalal. I went to a Democracy Rising event in Baltimore in 2003 so that I could hear Ralph Nader and Dennis Kucinich. And Dennis Kucinich didn't show up. This was before he started skipping votes. And Steve Cobble gave a speech in his place. And I went and talked to Steve, and he hired me. And I worked for the Kucinich campaign. And Ralph Nader was a supporter. And there's no experience I value more than that. And then in 2005, we started after Downing Street, when the Downing Street Minutes came out, and Democracy Rising was there, leading in that coalition from the start and all the way up until the present date. And come 2006, just like Ralph Nader described 2004, there was a distraction in the movement for peace and the movement for justice and accountability and impeachment. And it was the elections. And elections, among other things, as we all know, can lead to unfair criticism of some of the most admirable Americans alive today. And elections can divide those of us who are on the same side of the most important issues facing us. So there is an argument to be made at a time when elections tend to be stolen and where we maybe end up facing a choice between a pro-war candidate and a pro-war candidate, for a little bit of focus somewhere else. And in 2006, a lot of us actually urged the election of lousy Democrats so that the Democrats would have the chairmanship of every committee and the leadership positions, because we knew that they could, if they wanted to, then end the war, not by passing a bill, but by announcing that there would be no more bills to fund the war. Now they're not doing it. They're not doing it. And the 2008 elections appear set to be worse than a distraction. Right? We now have, over the coming 5 years, a clear picture that the easiest period of time in which to end the occupation of Iraq or restore the rule of law to the executive branch through impeachment is not the second or the third or the fourth or the fifth of the coming years. It's the first year. It's the next year. It's the next 14 months. After which, if we have a Democratic president, a Democratic Congress will not try to end the war. It will become a respectable humanitarian war. It will become a genocide that we can be proud of. And if we have a Republican president, it's likely to mean a Republican Congress. It's likely also to mean that if the Congress finds the nerve to finally lead and end the war, that president, as the current one would do, will continue the war illegally, funding it illegally, just as Bush and Cheney began it. And we will be faced with having to impeach someone for continuing what we failed to impeach someone for beginning. So if we are going to accomplish anything over the next 5 years, it needs to be during the next 1 year. And you know, that doesn't mean completely ignore the elections. In the coming elections, as in all elections, support the best candidates in primaries and in the general election. And there are some people in this room who need to run in some primaries, and we need to back them. Let me just say quickly, come join us at afterdowningstreet.org. Get involved in where the Constitution puts the emphasis on what citizens can do between elections, on lobbying, on civil disobedience. Raise your hand if you've gone to jail for justice under Bush and Cheney. Keep it up if you've done it twice. Keep it up if you've done it 3 times. Keep it up if you've done it 4 times, 5 times, more than 10 times. Stand up if you've gone to jail more than 10 times for justice under Bush and Cheney. If you did not raise your hand, you need to know it is almost always perfectly painless, and it can be very effective. We need to raise the level of activism in congressional districts. We need media activism. We need direct pressure. And you know, I brought to mind while Ralph Nader was talking, I just walking in here ran into a good friend of mine who's in a high position in Amnesty International, and he's urging me to get on board with, you know, recriminalizing torture yet again, and so forth. And I had to ask him, look, any good bill is going to be vetoed, any bad bill is going to be signed into law. When are you going to get on board with it? Oh, we could never touch impeachment. We could never do that kind of issue. And, you know, the ACLU says the same thing, except 33 years ago they did it. They led the way to impeachment, so they can't use that excuse anymore. We have to bring these groups on board. So lobby the bigger groups that we can. If we don't, we're going to end up with a Democratic president who continues the thing, and the money for the peace movement is going to move on to somewhere else. Get involved now. Go get involved in No War, No Warming, October 21st to 23rd. Get involved with United for Peace and Justice, October 27th. And get involved with pushing for no more bills for this occupation. It's not passing a bill, it's refusing to pass a bill. And get involved in impeachment and come join us at afterdowningstreet.org. Thanks.
Thank you, David.